Hey everyone, welcome to the Dram Amateur Podcast, your go-to show for everything bourbon, whiskey, rum, tequila, mezcal, and beyond. I'm your host, Jason. Join me as I journey and explore the world of alcoholic spirits. Let's get started. All right, welcome back to the Dram Amateur Podcast, the show where we explore the stories, spirits, and sips that make the world of whiskey, bourbon, rum, tequila, and mezcal so exciting. I'm your host, Jason, and I'm thrilled to have you here for another pour of a great conversation. Before we dive in, don't forget to connect with me on Instagram at Dram_amateur, as well as YouTube and Facebook under the Dram Amateur Podcast to stay in the loop with exclusive content and updates. Whether you're a seasoned enthusiast or just starting your journey into the world of fine spirits, this is your spot to sip, learn, and share. So pour yourself something good, get comfortable, and let's kick off another unforgettable episode of the Dram Amateur Podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, get ready. Pour yourself a proper pour because today's guest is someone who's helped change the way we think about rum and, more importantly, how we experience it. She's the national manager for the American market for La Maison Villers, but her role goes way beyond the job title. She's a storyteller, a cultural bridge, and a fierce advocate for the producers and traditions behind the bottle. Whether she's introducing you to a Clairin from Haiti, Agricole from Martinique, or an obscure gem you've never heard of, she's doing it with passion, purpose, and a whole lot of heart. You may know her on Instagram at When in Rum, where she blends education, travel, and serious bottle envy. But today, she's here with us to talk about her journey, her mission, and the rum-soaked road that brought her here. Please welcome the unstoppable, unmistakable, and undeniable rum legend herself, the one and only Kate Perry. Kate, welcome to the Dram Amateur Podcast.
That was so nice. Wow, thank you. What an honor to be here.
That's awesome. No, it's an honor to have you too. You and I have been kind of stayed in contact for a number of years now since I got into rum. Oh gosh, I think 2 or 3 years ago. And then I started to hear your name and your influence on rum in the American market. I've stayed close. There's liquor stores that are close to me in Georgia that know your name and stayed in contact with you too. So like your name comes up quite often in conversation. So this is a complete honor to have you on this podcast.
That's really nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's jump into questions. I want to learn about you and your journey, your career, what you're passionate about. So let's start the beginning, because I think the beginning's the best place to start. What was your very first exposure to rum? Why did it spark, and how did it spark you right away? And was it more of like a slow burn? Like you just jump in feet first? Like how did this all start?
I kind of just jumped in, just both feet first, into the frying pan, on a whim. It was very sudden. It was very abrupt, and it was very all consuming. I was working in wine. I had a really deep passion for sherry in particular, and I was running a wine program trying to turn the bar into a sherry bar at this little Spanish spot in Seattle, Washington. And my boss, Travis Rosenthal, who still owns the bar that we ended up creating together, he and I he wanted me to manage the next place that he opened. I'd started working for him as a server and sort of worked up the ranks and became the GM / bar manager / wine director / he was like, I need somewhere to put you. Let's do something else together. So we went through a lot of different other concepts together. And some of them got pretty far before they fell apart. There's always licensing and construction and permits, and you never really know a place is going to open until opening night, it feels like. And where everything else kind of disintegrated overnight, this space next door to the Spanish spot opened up, and he came up to the office where I was on the office computer, and he said, "Hey, Kate, this place next door just opened up and I just put an offer on the lease. And what do you think of opening a rum bar? And I would argue most people, this was in 2011, didn't know much about rum. We had a couple bottles on the back bar. Down at the bar, it was mostly like Pirate and Bacardi and, and he thought that he liked rum. He probably, I mean, I hope he really likes rum now, but he was like, yeah, rum is like what I drink. And he knew a couple of brands. And I was like, boss, like, I don't know anything about rum. And he kind of kept talking, and I went online and I was busy, and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm booking a trip to the Caribbean. And he was like, why? I was like, well, if we're going to open a rum bar, let's do it right. I don't know anything about rum, so I'm going to go give myself a crash course. And he said, you don't need to do that. They're sales reps. They'll bring you bottles to taste and this and that. And I said, okay, whatever, boss. And I need to get out of here. It's winter in Seattle. I need some sun anyway. And so I booked a trip to 5 different islands. I rented a car. I drove around each island, and I stopped at every distillery along the way. He eventually came back up to the office and said, Kate, I have a wife and 2 kids. I can't go to the Caribbean for 2 weeks. You should go. Please go figure this out. I'll help. I was like, great. Good job, boss. So that was in 2011, and we opened a bar called Rumba in September of 2012. And when we started out, it was really, really difficult to find rum for the back bar because there just wasn't much in the market, especially in Washington State, which is a really difficult booze market out here. That was also the year that we went from a private or a state-run liquor organization to a privatized in 2012, so same year. So it was kind of chaotic. I was really proud that we managed to amass a collection of like $200 bottles of rum on the back bar, with this giant back bar with library ladders. I filled a couple shelves with Madeira because rum, sea captain's Madeira, that kind of made sense. But we really just wanted to have like an ode to this spirit, to not only the liquid and the cocktails, but the people and the culture and the communities, and, have a kind of Caribbean feeling space that decidedly wasn't a tiki bar. That was really like a place that, I don't know, had some cool kind of Caribbean vibes to it, and felt like a place where you could come and really like engage in rum. So we opened that in 2012. I managed it for 6 years. I left in 2017 to go and do what I do now, which is managing La Maison and Valier for the U.S.
How did that all come about? Did you see a job posting on the internet? Did they call you? Did you have network contacts? How did that come about?
I kind of told them that I wanted them to hire me for a job that didn't exist.
Love that. That's badass.
Said yes. It was just kind of a luck of a circumstance. They were really pushing the spirit of Haiti for bartenders. So they had this Clairin World Championship that was all European bartenders, and they decided to expand it to the U.S. And so they did some research, and they came across Rumba as like the U.S. rum bar, and they found my name. And my now colleague, Daniele Biondi, called me up and said, hi, Kate, this is Daniele Biondi from Valier. We'd like to invite you to come to Haiti to tour the Clairin. You know the Bon Clairin? I'm like, yes, I know Clairin. I've been, taking bottles whenever I travel. As a rum lover, we love to travel and explore and find new places and new spirits, and find the bottles that you can't get at home. It's always like a treasure hunt. Yep. So I'd been, collecting bottles of Clairin as much as I could. And I spent a week with them in Haiti in a Jeep, bouncing around, visiting all of these beautiful producers, eating, the best food in the Caribbean, the music, the people, the architecture, just such a gorgeous country. And I really fell in love with Valier's approach to the spirit, because it really felt in line with how I approached the spirit in terms of like the culture, the community, the land, the sea, the air, the smells, I don't know, it's a whole, it's not just the liquid in the glass, it's everything else. The liquid in the glass is delicious, of course, but it's always been the least interesting thing for me. It's been everything else that's been so exciting. And after a week with them in Haiti, I remember on that call, Daniele said, Kate, a trip to Haiti will change your life. And I laugh with him about that now because he was right. My life absolutely changed. A couple of months later, I found myself living in New York with bottles of Clairin and walking around New York City. I'm like, anybody want to try this stuff? But after that trip, I had written them an email just saying, hey, thank you so much. And also, like, I'd really love for this stuff to be available in the US market, and I'd love to be a part of that. And I sort of got it, okay, thank you. Yes, US, very interesting, cool, email back. And I knew that I had to go talk to Luca. Like, I became so single-minded, like, obsessed with this idea that this was the only job that I wanted. Like, this is my calling in life. And I knew that Luca was giving a talk at Tales of the Cocktail that year. So I went to Haiti with him in April or something, and he was going to be in New Orleans in July. And so I entered Spear Bomb's Tea Punch competition because the national finals were at Tales of the Cocktail in New Orleans that year. And I won the West Coast, and I needed an excuse to take more time off of work. So I got to go to New Orleans. I came in second. That was great. Totally, like, not my purpose. My purpose was like, I have to go find Luca. And somebody had told me that if you want to run into someone at Tales, you have to go to the Hotel Monteleone lobby at 1:00 in the morning, and it'll work out. And I didn't have any better ideas. Like,
So
someone
went with it.
So I went with it. I was like, well, let's try it. Like, I don't have a better idea. I don't know how to find Luca. And so I went to the Monteleone at 1:00 in the morning, and I sat on the couch, and I was like, okay, here I am. And I kid you not, like, 4 minutes later, Luca walked in by himself. And he was like, Ciao, Kate, what are you doing? And I said, well, Luca, I'm waiting for you. And he said, oh, did we have an appointment? Were we supposed to meet? And I said, no. And he said, okay, let's go drink some gin and tonics at the Carousel bar. And I said, okay. And so he said, so Kate, what are you doing? And I said, Luca, I have never wanted anything more than to work for you and to share the spirit of Haiti with the US market. And I want you to start working in the US, and I'd like to manage that for you. And he said, okay.
Wow.
And I said, okay. And November of that year, I was living in New York.
That's unbelievable. That's so cool. Oh my God. Like, I'm in shock a little bit right now because you listen, I mean, I'll be honest with you. This is one of what you do every single, I was just talking to my wife about this last night when we were talking about you coming on and how excited I was. I said to her, it's one of those jobs that, like, I would wake up every day, like, empowered and passionate to go do this stuff, tell the stories, right? Connect the community and everything you mentioned to the consumer, right? And understand all that. So knowing that your story is even that cooler with how you like went and got it yourself, you're a badass. That's so freaking amazing.
It turns out that, I referenced the, have you ever read the book, The Alchemist?
No, I have not.
You should. It's great. But there's a line in it that says, when you know your heart's true desire, the whole universe will bend to help you achieve it. And I think that that's true. It's I don't know. Sometimes you just have to ask for what you want, and you'll be surprised.
That's cool. You wake up every day and pinch yourself sometimes?
I do. Yeah. It's been 8 years. And it's become, my life now, but there's definitely some aspects that, there's some high points that I'm just like, wow, like, this is incredible. Yeah.
That's
It's
really cool.
cool.
That is pretty cool. No, it's
But
really cool.
yeah, it's funny though, like I think that like there's this perception of like a brand job, right? And I don't feel like I have a brand job. This company is very different. As Luca says, it's not an organization, it's an organism, which
Hmm.
feels pretty adequate. It's like this living, ever changing company, non-company, and it's growing. And I was the first employee of La Maison and Valliere because at that time there was still La Maison du Whiskey on the French side and Valliere on the Italian side, and they were just starting to merge. But the U.S. market was really like the first point of this joint venture that they created, and so it started with me, and now it's a global company. But we were sort of the meeting of those two tidal waves here in the U.S. And so it's just kind of funny.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What was the early days like when you mentioned like taking the bottles around us to stores? I would imagine stores, bars, the whole
Yeah.
nine yards. What is that like to like? You're
It is
basically
wild.
crowdsourcing, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
basically like doing it yourself. Like, what's that like?
Yeah. Well, doing it myself and having no experience or business doing it. Like I was I was really, really lucky because I think that the only reason I was successful, and a lot of people have told me, like, hey, you should not have been as successful as you were. Like, New York is a really hard market. Like, it's tough to break in. You had no infrastructure. Like, we were self distributing. So we didn't have a distributor at that point. Now, we started working with PM Spirits as our distributor in New York at the end of 2018, and we started working them as our importer at the beginning of this year. So we've been sort of weaving in with PM for 8 years. But at that time, it was pre-distribution. My colleague Daniele Biondi moved to New York to train me, which meant we're meeting in a WeWork space during the day. Um, Me trying to Daniele, he's Italian, but he speaks his own Daniele language. And so me trying to decipher what this Italian man was talking about. And, we were drinking so many daiquiris. We still laugh about how many daiquiris we consumed in New York. And we were just, armful of bottles, knocking on doors. And it's really like a testament to the power of the liquid, because people in New York, I think, can be a little bit jaded. When you live in the city that everyone comes to, that everyone wants to be a part of, that everyone is always doing, like, there's always 10 events a night you could go to, or all of this stuff going on all the time. It's really hard to like capture attention. But when you have something where people are like, oh, like, I've never heard of that before, and then they taste it, and this thing happens where, like, it happened for me too, where you feel like you've kind of tasted everything in the booze world. Maybe not every brand, but like you have an idea of what things taste like. You probably know what Calvados will taste like, or rye whiskey tastes like, or bourbon tastes like, or gin. And you have like boxes to put things in. And then you taste something that is just so out of any of those boxes that it's like this new discovery. Whether you like it or you don't like it, it doesn't really matter. Just it's so refreshing to be surprised, I think. And I think that these bottles were just a refreshing surprise for people who had never tasted anything like it. And so we were self-distributed. I remember by the time we switched over to working with PM, we had 200 accounts in New York, which felt really good. We had Clairin, and then we had Caroni,
Okay.
the old aged rum from the defunct Trinidadian distillery. And we had like the whole US's allocation for Caroni, but we were only in New York and we were self-distributed. So we were just like walking around New York, like pouring Caroni on the streets. which now, like, if you can find a bottle, like, that's unicorn stuff. Um, it was pretty fun, but yeah, it was a blast, you know. It was just like a new job, big energy. Daniele is just such a force. Um, and he and I just went really, really hard. I had no idea how to do the job, but I just figured, you know, if we can just keep showing up and keep pouring this and get in touch with everyone, um, it'll turn out, I guess. And it's been a really fun journey ever since.
That's so cool. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and you're right about a couple of things. Like, not that you're right, not that you're wrong about anything, but you're right. Like, the rum is, when I found rum, it's very different than bourbon and other things like that, right? There are similarities to a lot of bourbon and from different distilleries and different regions. I think what I loved about rum was that it's wildly different from everywhere you go. Like, I mean, everything you get. Like, I mean, I have Guyana, I've got Jamaica, I've got Haiti, I've got Martinique, I've got Trinidad, I've got a Caroni. I have all of those things, right? And it's like, we sit down with friends and share all of that, and they're blown away by every single sip they take of something different. And everything tells a story, like you said, right? There's a community behind that. There's terroir behind that. There's history behind it all. And if you sit down and you take a minute to think about that and reflect on it and look into it and do your research on it and really understand what you're drinking, it's impactful. It really, truly is.
Yeah.
So it's a really unique space. And to know that you're pouring Caroni out in middle of New York City, just sharing with people, knowing how I had to like bend over backwards to get a bottle and finally have one. And it's like it is a unicorn, but it's one of those unicorns then that I share with everybody. Cause I'm like, I know how hard I had to go to get one. I said, and now it's like, do you need a sample? Like, if you've never had this, you have to try it. That is a huge piece of history. Like, you gotta try it, you know? So that's so cool. That is absolutely unbelievable. And you guys, you put your hard work into that. Like, I mean, I can imagine getting up every day. Okay, where are we going? Making a plan, bringing bottles with you, pouring and doing different things. That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun. I'm glad that I had that experience, because I sort of got to play like a little bit on the distributor side, as a self-distribution, which really kind of helped me understand like the role of a sales rep, which now, you know, I'm work as a supplier, and in this 3-tier system, like, we have to rely so heavily on our sales reps that work for our distributor companies, because we don't have a team. It's just me in the US market, along with my importer. So it's I'm glad that I got to literally walk in those shoes to sort of understand that side of the job. It really has helped me, I think, in a lot of ways. But I think that, like, you know, what you're saying is also so true. Like, I love telling people that rum is like sandwiches. Like, you can't tell me that you don't like rum. It's the most diverse category of spirit in the world. It's like being like, yeah, I'm not into sandwiches. Like, that doesn't mean anything, you know? There is something for everyone out there. Like, it's too broad of a category to really limit that. And, you know, I think that the sort of preconceived notion of rum is very different from the actual reality of the spirit. You know, rum is sweet, or rum is this like 151 stuff that you have to like choke down with Coca-Cola, or, you know, it's only spiced rum, or it's only Bacardi, or just the sort of reputation that it has doesn't do justice to the depth and the breadth of the category. But as you were saying about, you know, finding a bottle of Caroni and of course sharing it with people, rum fans are just the best. I love also saying that rum friends are the best friends, and that rum is best when shared with friends, because the community in the rum world is just a really cool, special thing. And especially like coming out of the pandemic, like I love that, you know, my nerdy rum friends, can travel anywhere in the world and find a community to go hang out with just because they both like rum. Like it's this really funny thing that I think is really special, and really kind of pertinent to the rum um, category itself, where the rum folks are just like so gracious and so giving and so just like, oh, I have this. Like I just imagine that like the US post office is just this like zigzag of sending the samples across the country and maybe across the world. And I, have friends who like buy bottles for friends in Canada. And when they come to visit, they like get them back. And like people just really take care of each other in this community, which feels really, really special. I get the privilege and the honor, and the joy really to work with these incredible distilleries, but it wouldn't mean anything if there weren't, all of these wonderful people out there to enjoy it. Like if no one's opening the bottles and drinking and sharing and creating community around them, then what's the point?
Yeah, it's very true. That's very true. Talking about community, I imagine that the community aspect when you first started this wasn't as broad as it is today, and some of that probably goes to social media, right? And the accessibility that we all have to each other now, discovering new people, following them, connecting that way. How much do you think like the social media side of thing has really made an impact to like the market and the community you speak of, right? Do you think it's a big major player in getting everybody connected to share all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I know like especially like coming out of the pandemic and through the pandemic, there was the Global Rum Room, which was like this global Facebook Friday night chat with people all over the world just to like hang out and drink rum. I think it's still going. Seth Camille in New York started that, and I think it's still going. I haven't checked lately. But I think that also like, when I started in rum in 2011, 2012, like it was a very small category in the US market. It was difficult to get those 200 bottles in the back bar. And now like it's really just exploded. I'm not sure in numbers, but in options for sure. It kind of feels like it still is floating under the radar, which I'm okay with. I kind of like that. I'm always voting for the underdog in life. But I think that there's this shift that happened where we just got so many more bottles available. All of the things that I would have to travel for and shove in my suitcase are now readily available in the US market. And it just got a lot easier for rum lovers to find the bottles that they were looking for. And then, everyone and in the pandemic kind of got to like taste things in their living room with the whole world wide web in front of them, which I think that we sort of saw this like rise of a more educated consumer, because people just had nothing else to do but geek out on stuff. So I think that we're, much more, there's a lot more information. Social media absolutely has played a big part into that. And the work of some really passionate people globally just trying to get people drinking rum or make them aware that there's just a lot more options out there.
No, it's true. Yeah. And when I first started, it was hard. I mean, I started, like I said, I think 3 or 4 years ago. I think I started in 2019. So it's been 6 years. So I got into rum, I think 4 years ago now. And I remember buying a bottle of Foursquare, and I bought a couple other bottles too, and they were wildly different because one of them was dosed, had additives in it, right? And I immediately knew at that time, I'm like, this is not what this one here is not what I want. So then you start worrying as a consumer, right? And I didn't know a lot of the Instagram world and all that stuff. So then you start worrying as a consumer, going, well, I don't want to go buy another bottle because if I buy a bottle and be disappointed, like what do I gotta go? What do I need to appreciate? What do I need to find? Right. So you start doing that research as a consumer. And that's where I think like the internet's helped me for sure. Right. Going on social media, connecting on social media, building my profile the way I did. And then you're right. Like, I mean, I've seen a gigantic shift in the last 3 years over what is available in the US, which is fantastic. Yeah. Because I travel quite a bit between Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia. And the access to things in Florida that I can't get in Georgia is great, right? At least I have that traveling. But even then, you'd see bottles that are available in Europe, and you're like, oh man, why can't I have that? And then you're looking at European auction sites. You're like, okay, how much is this bottle to auction? How much do I have to ship? Like, blah. So, but in time, those bottles that I mentioned that you're starting to see in those auction sites, those brands start coming to the US and you start having access to those things. And that's what's really cool. And that's what I appreciate with what you're doing. And I'll tell you what, this year, the most, I've seen more new things from you this year than I ever remember in the past. And that's been really cool because then again, like you said, I then get access to that, whether I have to order it online, whether I have to like get it locally, where I live, but I have access in the US to be able to get that. So that's really, I as a consumer and as a passionate lover of rum, like I am really excited that it's changing and you continually see it evolving too. So it's not like a stagnant change. Like you said, you're playing the underdog, but you're still playing the underdog with still growing at the same time, which is really cool.
Yeah. I agree. It feels like there's also just a lot of new people coming over to the world of rum. Like I feel like I have more interest from kind of the agave world, the bourbon world, people who are kind of more willing to give it a try. And I think that's also kind of a testament to what you said, where there's, all these like Reddit channels and Facebook channels and Instagram accounts and people who are just kind of sharing information what they like. Because I get it, like as a consumer walking up to a wall of rum, not sort of really understanding the difference because it's kind of convoluted and nuanced and difficult to understand the difference. It doesn't make it easy. So I think that like it's been really cool to kind of see, the wave of new brands coming into the US market and then the wave of consumers just being interested enough to sort of match that. I hope match it. Because it could have gone the other way, if people didn't give it a chance, then these markets or these companies maybe wouldn't have seen the potential in the US market. And I hope that they all stay in the US market. I'm a little bit worried for us right now. It's getting harder and harder and more expensive with all these tariffs that are going on, and it's a tricky year for sure. So so all of these things feel positive, maybe aside from the current situation right now, which is still to be decided.
Yeah, we assume that as consumers, and we see it. I mean, I see it in the business world too, with everything that we deal with. So I imagine it's just as hard for you guys. It makes it difficult. It's all I can say is let's hope that in a few years things change back, and then we'll have a better market to maybe bring some of these in. But I think again, kudos to you guys, because even through all of those times, I'm still seeing an influx of things that I still have never seen in the U.S. And I think that it's a testament to passion, to wanting to bring it in. And I mean, honestly, too, knowing even if there is an increase in price because of those tariffs or something like that, I'd pay it because you want it so bad. You want to try it, you want to see it, and you want to experience it, So,
well, and I think too, like if if you're kind of a spirit lover too, like, I've been getting a little bit of backlash, like a 3-year-old rum is how much? And I'm just like, I don't know, petition the government. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Wasn't supposed to be like that, but here we are. Like the dollar has fallen 10-15%. Our tariffs are all like, it's a mess out there. So I'm sorry. There's literally nothing we can do. But also, I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah.
But it's a balance between price and quality, though. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, as a consumer, I just can't look at price. You have to look at everything behind it. And I know that's not for everybody, and I get that. So I'm definitely not trying to be that guy, but like there's a quality aspect to it, right? Yeah. And then there's the aging part of it too, where like, depending on where it was aged, like if you don't need to age it for 20 years if you age it in Jamaica or wherever else, So even if it spent a small amount of time tropically and then move continentally, like you don't need to age it that long in order to have the same impacts that you do from other other spirits like in the US and,
Totally.
bourbon in
It's like
Kentucky. Yeah.
bourbon versus scotch.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's same
Yeah.
thing.
And that's where I was going with that. I think that rum is still massively undervalued. I mean, for the quality of, these bottles, if, if the same thing was a different spirit, it would, had a different word on the label, it would be twice as expensive, if not more. I like River Antoine, for example, a beautiful rum from Grenada. It's the last Caribbean distillery to operate without electricity. It's powered by a water wheel on the river called the Antoine, Grenadian owned. When they had never exported rivers before, but with the pandemic hitting, there all of a sudden wasn't tourists going to Grenada, cruise ships, people weren't bringing bottles off the island, so they saw a dip, and so for the first time they had some extra, and they asked us if we would like to share it with the world, and I cried rivers of joy because it was my white whale. But Rivers is this like incredible rum, incredible story, estate grown cane. And then they also buy from small farmers who have little hectares growing around the island as well. These like ancestral methods, it's been produced the same way for 250 years. And I love that it's expensive. And I love that like Grenadian people see value in their product and charged us a reasonable amount for it and didn't, devalue it. I think there's like a perception that white rum should be cheap. And people think it should be like a $20 bottle when in fact, like it shouldn't. And I kind of love like the mezcal popularity for this, because I think mezcal taught Americans to drink, or some Americans to drink unaged, high octave spirit neat in a glass. And so, for the Clairin and for Rivers and for these like kind of high ester, high congener, interesting, high proof rums, people understand them a little bit better because they're like, oh, I can drink it like a mezcal. And I'm like, perfect. Yes, do that. Not that you shouldn't mix it in cocktails, but yeah, try it neat. And for Rivers, people see the price and they're like, God, that's expensive. I'm like, if it was a water wheel powered mezcal,
Buy it a heartbeat.
this would be like a $300 bottle. It's, 75, $80 on the shelf. It's okay.
I don't think I've ever seen it before.
Yeah, God, it's gorgeous.
Okay, I'll have to look for it next time I'm out.
Yeah, we're just about to get. It'll be a little bit more now with the tariffs, but we're just about to get some more in the market.
Okay.
It's really, really special stuff.
That's cool. No, I'll have to check it out. I'll definitely have to check it out. Let me ask you a question here about like new spirits brands and like lessons you teach them. So like if you could teach any new spirits brand one lesson about how to market authentically, right? Which I think you've done a really good job at. Like what would it be, right?
That's a great question. What would it be? I think like don't be afraid to say no. I think that like there's a lot of opportunities that can get thrown on you, and make sure that like whatever you say yes to feels in line with who you are and what you're trying to represent. Because I think that like, I don't know if you can tell when things don't fit, if you're at an event that isn't really in line with what you're doing, or I tend to be like pretty careful with how we align ourselves, and like with whom and what and where and when, because I'm, when I'm thinking about marketing our products, which, we're a tiny independent company. We don't have like a massive marketing budget or anything like that at all. It's, we rely so much on word of mouth and the quality of the liquid in the bottle and the stories. But whenever I'm doing anything, I always just think like, okay, well, we're thinking about doing this. Like, does this do honor to Michel Sajous? Is this how, my friends at Hampden Estate would represent themselves. Like, does this feel in line with that? And if so, absolutely great. And if like there's any doubt, like it's just a pass, because I don't want to put their reputation at stake. And that's always sort of how I think about it. Like, I'm just the middleman here, the middle woman. It's always about them, it's always about the producers. So yeah, for any company, like just find your authentic voice and then only listen to that, and don't be afraid to say no. There's always going to be more things, more tastings, more events, more whatever that pops up.
No, that's badass, because seriously, in a world today ruled by, money and and capitalism and all of those kind of things,
Yeah.
you can lose your way very, very fast, right? You can look at it like even what we do, right, as influencers or whatever, like, okay, they don't like what I'm doing, right? But if you're true to yourself, then the people that want to follow you and want to support you are going to do that. So there is a lot of respect in your thought process with that, and like representing the brand, representing what you're doing in a way that's not jeopardizing the future, right? Or whatever brand you bring in under La Maison Valère, right? It's you're representing them in a way that's going to encourage it stays authentic to who they are and who you are as well. So that's really respectful. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's too hard. It's too easy in this world just to throw your values out the window nowadays and be like, hey, it's all about the money, it's all about the followers, it's all about this. It's
we
way
live
too
in this
easy.
like wild attention economy where everything just feels like it has to be so new and flashy and this and that. And I don't know, like as I'm getting older, I'm getting more old school. And
True that.
just like stay the course. It's going to be okay. As long as we are following who we are, it's going to be okay.
No, that's cool. That's cool. You mentioned something about like flashy, right? So what's a part of rum culture you think deserves more attention? Something that often gets overlooked in favor of like flashy bottles or collector buzz. Do you think it's rum finally having its moment in the US? Or we still at a pre-party? Like, how does that all look from that perspective about the rum culture? Did you think deserves more attention?
I think that like the thing that I would love to have, maybe a couple of things. I really love this like kind of no additive conversation that has gotten really big in tequila. And I hope that splashes over. There's some islands where like their history and their culture is adding things to their rum, be it botanical rums or spiced rums, or, this stuff was originally medicine, like Angostura bitter is originally medicine. This is infused rum, Clairin in Haiti, Mamajuana in Dominican Republic. You go to St. Lucia and you have all of the grandmas with their big balloons stuffed with barks and twigs and leaves and herbs. And like, these are the cures what ails you. You have a headache and this is the remedy. And that's like, that feels like really authentic. And such like a deep cultural thing. And I'm not talking about that per se, or, certain places in South America, certain countries, like they drink sweetened rum. That's what they do. They've done it for 200 years. Cool. But I think that like the adage, drink what you like, but know what you're drinking. I just wish that information was a little bit more prevalent. Like, I would love to see ingredients on bottles, because I also want to know what I'm putting in my body. And I think that would be something that would be useful to people. And also for your consumer who's walking up to that rum shelf in a retail store who doesn't want something sweet or wants something sweet. Like, some people, that's their cup of tea, and like they should be able to have that and not end up with, not everyone wants to drink these like high ester proof bombs. But yeah, I think I hope that kind of that conversation comes into the rum world. I know it's a very big rum debate and a very big rum war in certain crowds, but I'd like to see just information becoming more available to consumers about what's in their bottles. I kind of laugh and kind of roll my eyes in equal parts sometimes when I'm, at a bar and they're like so passionate about their no additive tequila and mezcal and all of this. And then they pick up a bottle of sweetened rum and make a daiquiri. And I'm like, but where's the point here? What? Come on. If you're going to be so passionate about this, just like carry it through their program.
Agreed. Yeah. And I know I speak for a lot of consumers, probably not all, but same thing, right? I wish that transparency was there because, as you mentioned, I mentioned I experienced it with rum to start with, and then I started getting tequila as well. Same thing, experience it there. And again, you buy a bottle and you're like, wow, why does this taste like cotton candy? This shouldn't taste this way. Or you buy a bottle of mezcal and it's just like, I struggled to get into mezcal because I'd tasted a few and it's all smoke. And I'm like, this is not, I don't imagine that this is what this is supposed to taste like. Like, this doesn't taste quality to me. And then you finally start having things that are quality with no additives, with the transparency with it. And you're like, oh, that's what this is. Yeah. Now I get it. Right. So then you start, but the uneducated consumer, you probably waste a few dollars buying bottles that you don't know. But again, that's where Instagram comes in. And that's where I'm trying to lean into that more, is to get people introduced across the spirits world into different brands, into different areas, so that they're able to try something that they may not have known of before and give them the sample of it or encourage them to buy a bottle. So yeah, I agree with you. That transparency is big. And I think it's going to get more and more, especially with these lawsuits that continue to drop for other, big distributors.
Yeah.
They're going to have to start having some problems.
Yeah, I think it's net positive that it'll at least create conversations. The other kind of thing I think that I wish just was a little bit more of a sort of prevalent notion is just drinking distilleries. Like, drink the producer bottles and judge. Not judge, or consider maybe the identity of the island based on the producers within it and what they have to say about it. There's so many brands out there, and there's some of those brands are, independent bottlers. I like to call us a dependent bottler because there's really not much done outside of the relationship with the producer themselves. In our sort of world, everything is really integrated and connected. There's, marketing brands, there's the whole spectrum in the world of rum, and it's pretty confusing and it's difficult. But if you pick up a bottle and it doesn't say, like, I have this one here, the distillery on it, it doesn't mean it's good or bad, but just like if you're trying to understand Jamaican rum, for example, drink Jamaican rum distilleries. To understand that. And then if you want to go into the world of, other brands or independent bottlers, like, there's some really wonderful liquid out there. But I think that the people of the place are the authorities on the style.
Yeah, and I'll make a comment about the people in the place from something that I think it's PM Spirits that posted the other day. They had that 3 or 4 minute video of Hampton at the distillery, and I sat there. I'm like, okay, first bucket list. Second, I'm like, it really, like, that 4 minute video just immersed you into so much information in 4 minutes and history, and there's people behind it, and I'm like, it was perfect. Like, I talk about perfection for somebody who I know enough to be dangerous. It learned a little bit more even from watching that, but it's just the little things, to watch them open the pot stills, to watch the bubbles in the fermentation tank, like, pop, like that, to watch the water come out where they talked about the spring water. Like, that is so cool to be able to see all of that stuff. So I appreciate those kind of things as well. So you're right. Connecting what you're drinking to where it's made and how it's made, like, it's gotta be it's really cool. It really, really is a unique and cool experience for sure.
Yeah, Hamden's life-changing. That
Yeah, I
is,
can imagine.
that's a special place. That video is on HamptonEstateRum.com if any of your listeners want to check that out. I think it's absolutely beautifully done. And it really like kind of, I don't know, gives you a little taste of what it's like to be at Hampden for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
It is cool. It is very cool. You know, I have the great houses, and then you get to see the actual great house in the video. And I'm like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It's actually there. It's not just a label.
the tree. And like, I actually liked the shot that they took, because you see the trees all the time in a lot of the pictures you see and videos you see. But the video that they took was like a drone, like flying over, and the trees were on alongside, but you saw the rest of the property and like how the trees laid out. And it was just, like totally perfectly done to represent a distillery and the process behind it, in a 4-minute video that you can watch. You know, it was fantastic. It was really, really good. So I agree with you. Connecting what you're drinking to a distillery makes a big difference in your appreciation of it, the history behind it, where it comes from, the people that make it, the process behind it. It is really very important, I think, in anything that you drink.
Yeah, today. And across spirits too.
Yep.
You know, I'm not throwing shade, but I think that if, you know, a lot of bourbon consumers understood that there was 1-4 distillery. Like,
agreed.
There's, I don't know, I like to call rum like the soccer of the spirit swap world, like football in other countries, where it's like, this is the thing that everyone drinks around the world because it's really a global spirit. You know, it's produced everywhere. And the US is like just starting to understand. It's kind of cool. We're getting
It is really cool. You get to watch it grow, for sure.
Yeah.
One personal question here. If rum was removed from your life tomorrow, what would fill that space, for better or for worse?
That was one of the questions you sent me this really lovely email with some prep questions for this, and it was the most thoughtful and intense email I've ever received.
Sorry. Thank you and sorry at the same time.
That's accepted. But that was one of the questions on there that I was like, wow. You know, I think about it sometimes. I'm a person who really likes to, I like to call them side quests, like life is a video game and I get to go do little side quests. I like having other interests outside of work. And I think that like, if I were like just to fully immerse myself in something else, I'd want to do something that just really, it felt like it was helping our current mess of a situation on this planet. And I don't know if that would be like environmental or community driven or both. But I'm often dreaming up just like, you know, we're all here together on this, what feels like a sinking ship. And I'm out here pouring rum, which is delightful, and I'm so proud of the rums that I get to share with the world. But like, I almost have this like guilt of like, I need to be doing something that's helping our situation, because if you're not helping, you're hurting, right? Yep. So something that would maybe give me some meaning in life, that I don't know if that's like just some sort of like mental health or environmental education, or just out there digging holes and planting trees. I don't know.
That works. No, I think, you know, it's mad respect for that answer, to be honest with you, because it is a, you know, at my age where I'm at, and as I get older, I start seeing things differently. And I'm like, man, if we could just go back to the 80s and 90s where things were different, I'm like, I want to just take my kids back there and be like, yo, you got to go check this times out, because it was pretty freaking cool back then.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, think about it. I always look at the positive side of things too, right? I think you're doing a lot of that stuff in what you're doing. I'll share it with you from my perspective, right? there's a lot of, in a world of social media, we've lost the ability, I feel, as a community sometimes to connect with people that have differing opinions, right?
Mhm.
Because it's so easy to find on the internet now somebody that has the exact same opinion as you, and then you just go join a group, and then you just get to be hyper focused and siloed to that opinion. So we've
Yeah.
lost the ability to have a difference of opinion, to understand each other, and then continue in life like there's no, like you're still friends, right? Now it's, you can just be like, well, I don't like you because you don't have the same opinion. I think what you do, it brings people together from different walks of life, different cultures, different experiences, everything, right? And you bring them all together with what you do on a daily basis, right? And if that's I'm gonna show a bottle of rum. If that's a bottle of rum, right, that we all connect with, then I think that's crazy respectful, right? So I asked that question because I always like to hear what people's answers are and how much sometimes we are so close to what we do that we don't see what we do, so other people see it, and just to share my feedback with you with that, because
Thank
I
you
think
for
that's
that.
really cool. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that in my early days of this job, it was the honor of representing these producers, the excitement about the liquid, just the energy around it. I was in my mid-30s when I started this, and I loved just going out and being part of the scene. And I'd been working behind a bar, and I was now on the other side and had all these, cool liquids and cool bottles, and just got to like kind of live my first experience of these bottles through sharing them with other people, and got to like relive that first experience, and that sort of like, oh my God, I didn't know rum could taste like this, which is still like my favorite words that people can say to me. Um, and now I'm a bit older, and I think that the thing that really drives me is that these spirits bring people together, wine, rum, whatever it is, food, the act of breaking bread with someone, sharing a glass, creating community is just so needed. And if that's through rum, that's amazing. A couple of years ago, maybe if anyone has been to any of my like seminars or talks, a couple of years ago, I started making everyone in the audience introduce themselves to each other.
That's cool though. That's awesome.
I'm like, all right, we only have 45 minutes here, but we're just going to take 10 minutes. Like, everyone stand up, say your name, say where you're from, say like, your desert island rum, or the first rum that got you excited about rum, or whatever it is, and look around the room and just like clock each other. And now, like, when you're out in the world sitting at a bar and you see each other, like, hang out, go say hi, like, share a dram. Like, that's the important thing here. It's not me up here, yammering on about dunder and mock and esters and congeners and all of this. Like, it's you guys. It's always you guys. Like, that's, the consumers are just the most important part. And so I think that sort of act of community building around whatever it is that you're doing is I don't know, it's been what drives me lately.
No, it's cool. No, crazy respect for you with that. And I think it's lost in this world sometimes to hear people say that, and it's really respectful to hear you say that, because again, it's lost so much. So, and I have a lot of respect for that, because again, that's what I think is what keeps me doing this and getting to know people and hear their stories, because I want to understand their background, their history, what powers them, where their passions are. So no, that's really cool. I really appreciate that.
You get to connect with so many people too.
Yes.
That's so cool.
It is very cool. It is very cool. So it's a growing experience for sure. But it's the experience that even after a day of work, like I wake up every morning, I do one of these podcasts. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so freaking excited to talk to this person. I cannot wait for the day. So there's a passion behind that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's what fuels
it's
me,
that spark,
Yeah.
It's that spark. That's what it's all about.
Agreed. All right. Well, we're almost down with the time. I'll be respectful of your time. So let's go through some rapid fire round questions. So I'll ask you a question, throw out an answer. If we go a little deeper, that's cool. Completely cool too. Totally down with that. But let's go through some of these questions I got here for you. So what bottle would you hand to somebody who says, I don't like rum? And what would you say while pouring it?
I think my kind of newer go-to rum for people No, okay, I'm gonna restart over. I'd go back to bartender Kate and be like, okay, but what do you like? I'd be like, well, I don't like rum. I'd be like, okay, but what do you drink when you're not drinking rum? And I think, like, again, like rum is like sandwiches, and there is something for everyone. And if you tell me that like you're super into gin, or you drink mezcal, or you only drink bourbon, like there is a rum for you out there. My kind of like crowd pleaser is shakara from Thailand. Have you tried that?
I have not, and I've heard it's fantastic.
It's, it's really delicious, and it's just like our most approachable rum. It's something that like I think sits in this really beautiful space where not everybody wants to drink these like hammer you over the head with ester things. Or maybe you could have a glass of them, but maybe you don't want to have a couple. Shakara is just like super lovely and sessionable. I think it kind of appeals to like the whiskey drinker with a lot of kind of vanilla, caramely, toffee, kind of oaky style to it. It's 12 years aged in the tropical conditions of Thailand. So tropically aged for 12 years. But it's also kind of gentle and like just lovely and easy. So that's kind of my like blanket just pour, but I like to get into it with people. So like, tell me what you like to drink. We're not talking about rum right now. Like, are you, Sauvignon Blanc? Are you Cabernet? Like, do you, what kind of movies do you like? Do you smoke? Like, that's a big one. Like, have you been a lifetime smoker? Like, your taste buds are very different. We can find something for you. So I think, rum is a very diverse category, and a choice for someone is really personal to them.
Very cool.
Yeah.
No, very, very cool. Very cool.
Question, but we'll try. Okay, what's next? It wasn't rapid. I'm bad at being rapid.
No, that's good. No, I appreciate that. No, I like going back to bartender, Kate, because like that's a lot of the questions, like even when I go out, right? It's like, okay, well, what do you normally like to drink? And for me, it's one of those like hard questions, like, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite music? I'm like, I am way too diverse to answer that question. Yeah. Just give me something. Let's just start somewhere kind of thing, you know?
Totally. Yeah, a flight. Let's start with a flight. Give me three windows into this world.
Yep. And see what it's like. Exactly. Yeah. Agreed. What are the signs of a truly great rum experience beside just the tasting notes?
I mean, rum is best when shared with friends, the people you're with, the setting, I think like kind of sometimes the liquid in the glass is just, the least important part. It should be, I don't know. I think this should all just be like the backdrop to a really good conversation.
Yep. Agreed. It's like get to know each other, build that connection,
Yeah. Have a conversation about what you like about it if you have to, but like, I don't know.
Exactly. If you had a starter pack for someone just getting into rum, what 3 bottles would it be?
Ooh. It would be a rum agricole, probably from Martinique. So Nason, of course. It would be a Jamaican, so Hamden, of course. And then it would probably be, that's like a fresh cane Creole column still, a molasses-ish heavy pot still, and then something probably on a traditional column, like, I don't know, maybe English Harbor makes really beautiful traditional column rum, or maybe like a Barbadian kind of balanced, just something to be a little bit different. But yeah, a variance of production and raw material. And yeah, just I like to give such a variety that people are like, okay, now I understand nothing. Like, I understand that there's a lot going on here and that this isn't what I thought it was.
Understand it's diverse is the answer. Yes, exactly. Agreed.
That's a great place to start. Understand that there is no answer.
Cool. Exactly. All right, 2 more questions. Build your dream rum tasting panel, dead or alive. Who's on it and what are they sipping?
Dream rum tasting panel. Wow. And what are they sipping? Oh my God, that is such a hard question. That is not rapid fire. Dear God. Okay. Tell me about this panel. Are they like anyone in the
Anybody
world?
you want, dead or alive. Anybody you want. Pluck them out of anywhere you want to pluck them out of. Give them 1 bottle a try, 100 bottles a try.
Turning around and looking at the shelf behind me.
Yeah, I have envy.
Okay. They are trying. Fuck. God, I might have to circle back to you on that. That's an intense, you know? I think that, okay, I'm just gonna go there. I think that it would be a panel of women, because that feels rare in this industry. I think that I would probably, of course, have Joy Spence of Appleton on this panel, and everyone else would probably just agree with whatever Joy says, because Joy is just correct. I'd probably have my French colleague, Marianne Attardi, on my panel. She is kind of on the front lines behind a lot of our whiskey selections from La Maison de Whiskey. She has an excellent palate. She's really lovely, and she's like, I don't know, such a cool up and coming young woman in this space that I really appreciate. How many people are on this panel?
As many as you want. It's your panel. Yeah.
Oh my God.
2, 100, your choice.
I'm gonna throw 1990s Gwen Stefani on my panel.
Love that.
And I'm going to throw Mary Oliver on my panel.
Who's Mary Oliver? I don't. Oh, the poet. Okay. Yes. I do. Yes, I do know. Okay.
She has this way with words. She passed a couple of years ago, but way with words that I really appreciate. Yeah, that's my panel. I don't know. That's the most random selection of people ever. I would probably change my mind tomorrow, but I'm going with it. And they are drinking, I don't know. We were talking about rivers before. They were drinking River Antoine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Which is also women owned and operated.
Oh, really?
I'm not like gung ho. I don't know. There's a lot of like, women in this and women in that. And when I was a bartender, I used to be put on this like 10 female bartenders you need to know. And I'm like, what? Can I just be a bartender? Like, please don't define me by my gender. But I don't know. I think that it's that would be, I also like hanging out with women. So I think that would be fun.
Well, my wife will hang out with you and drink Hampton.
Yeah.
Hampton is Great House 2020. She friggin', my gosh, she loves that damn thing. She's like, this is my favorite pour in the entire world. So
amazing.
Yeah, she loves it. She loves it. Every time I bring it out, she's like, can I have some? I got little baby Glencairn for her and everything. She's like, I just need to have some. So
of the 2020 specifically.
Yeah, she loves the 2020. She absolutely loves it. So
I love that.
One last question. Rum in America in the next 5 years will be blank.
Is America going to be here in the next 5 years?
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder that, to be honest with you.
I'm a little worried.
Yeah, we all are, I think.
I don't know. It depends on how this goes.
I'll say growing even more than it is today.
Cool.
That sounds fair.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so, because I think that, with the growth of rum, it also benefits the Caribbean, mostly. A lot of Caribbean communities or Caribbean communities around the world benefit from the growth of the spirit, for sure. but I do hope that it kind of skirts under the like tornado of like where the bourbon industry has gone, and the sort of collector cult bottlings. Like I know I'm often at like the center of that storm in rum with cult collector bottlings, because we have really incredible stuff. But I hope that people keep popping bottles and sharing them and don't get too precious about it.
Yep.
And that, if it breaks my heart a little bit to see some of the prices on auction sites, knowing that the producers aren't getting that, tertiary middlemen get that gap in inflation. So I hope that distilleries charge what they're worth and people pop their bottles and are happy
And share.
Share.
Yep. Yeah.
Rum is best when shared with friends.
Agreed. Let's give a shout out though to the bourbon industry and the bourbon world and what it has become, because it got me into all this stuff that I'm into now.
Yeah.
Because I got so freaking sick of it all, and I'm still sick of it. Like I saw a tequila reference. I saw something posted on an online site the other day for tequila, and I'm like, if you as a consumer pay this amount of money for something, I'm like, please don't fall to that trap, man. And I agree with you. Let it skirt under the radar, because then that means I don't have to go not to hunt for it, but I don't have to go pay extraordinary prices for it. I don't have to go pay markup. I don't have to deal with this whole, boom and secondary. So yeah, I agree with you.
It's stressful too. Like I see
ridiculous.
These like, liquor stores having these like raffles and allocations and like all this stuff. And I'm like, that just is so stressful. Like it's in the words of my dear friend Keith Waldauer, like it's just booze, people. It's okay, but I think that I do have love for the bourbon crowd too, because I think that, drinking that stuff kind of opens you up to some of the tastes and flavors and experiences. And a lot of bourbon people I know, you mentioned as well, like kind of go into Foursquare, which I think is such a great kind of place to land. And then you sort of like go into like this Foursquare vortex for a while. They have so many cool releases. And then when people want to try something else, a lot of them, I think, come over to the world of Hamden, which just couldn't be more different. I like to think of, Foursquare as like classical music and Hamden is jazz. And they're like the king and queen of Caribbean rum, with their little baby Veritas or Probitas in the US. So really fantastic producers. And I think that that's like ideally just the best pathway for a bourbon whiskey lover. Start with the Foursquare, pop over to Hamden, and you're well on your way to really incredible, authentic spirits.
Yep. You just totally like nailed my direction into rum. I can swear to God. I'm like, it was funny. I quick story. I passed on a bottle when I first got into it. Foursquare was the first one, and then it was Hampton next. And I was out. I remember driving around Atlanta looking for like, hey, do you have Hampton? Asking. And I remember the very first time I saw a bottle of Great House, and I'll tell you, and the very first time that I saw a bottle, a Bird Series bottle. And I said, okay, cool. What's the price? And I hadn't tried them yet. They're like this and this. And I'm like, oh, all right, we're going to go with the Great House. I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and leave that Bird Series for somebody else. I don't think I can afford it. Now I look at myself and I'm like, you're an idiot. Why don't you just not buy both and just suck it up, not do something else in a month or two and just make them? Oh man. I'm like, knowing that those are hard to find. And like, the ones I do have in my collection are like prized possessions, share them with everybody that wants them. But like, yeah, but that's the exact path I went down. And then it was just a rabbit hole from there. It was just discovery. So wow, that's crazy. That's crazy you mentioned that. So, well, Kate, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It has been great to get to know you and have you on and have you tell your story. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. This has been a lot of fun. I'm really happy to finally get a chance to chat with you. And I
One of these days we'll run into each other at one of these events because I want to travel for one of these big rum events and I never get the chance to. And there's so many people I connect with, Arminder and everybody else in the rum space. And I'm just like, my gosh, I'm like, I've got to get to one of these things and get to know everybody and get to see everybody and shake hands and have a pour with everybody.
Like see people in real life IRL that you've only spoken to on the internet. It happens to me kind of often, and people just like, hey, I'm just like Rolodexing, like this is so out of context. Like, where do I know you? Oh my God, we've been chatting online for like a decade. Cool, nice to meet you. The one that I would recommend, if you felt like going to Paris this fall.
Oh gosh, yes.
Whiskey Live Paris is coming up in September, and that's the show, I think, in the world.
Unfortunately, I think I have a ton of work travel in September. That probably won't happen, unfortunately.
Someday.
Next year.
Next year.
Next year. Plenty of life ahead of me.
Yeah.
Plenty of life ahead of me. Well, thank you, Kate. All right. Well, that's a wrap. That's a wrap on this episode of the Dram Amateur Podcast. A huge thank you to Kate for joining the podcast and to all of you for tuning in, sipping along, and being part of this amazing community. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment to like, share, and leave a review. It helps us grow and reach more spirit lovers like you. You can also follow me on Instagram at @dram_amateur for updates, behind the scenes content, and more. Your support means the world, and I can't wait to keep sharing this journey with you. Until next time, remember, life's too short for bad pours, so make every dram count. Cheers. Thank you for tuning into the Dram Amateur Podcast. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of spirits. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. I certainly appreciate all the feedback and support. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes as we continue our exploration of bourbon, whiskey, rum, tequila, mezcal, and beyond. Cheers, and until next time, keep savoring every sip.